Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today I have more mate in 3 patterns. So just remember, one of the best ways to improve your chess is to regularly study chess puzzles and tactics, and to pick a set of puzzles, whether it's 10 or 20, 50, 100 or whatever, a group of puzzles that are easier, and kind of go through them once and take your time, and then go back to the beginning and go through the problems again, and do that multiple times and try and solve them faster each time, so that by the 6th or 7th time you go through them, you can solve them in 10 or 15 seconds, and it really burns those patterns into your memory, and that way you can use them in your games for attack or defense. All right. So pause the video at any time if you need to think longer. Here we had a knight that checked the king, so the king steps over. And now we have a possible discovered attack here that's looking dangerous. So, with black to move, what should black do in this position? What would you do if you encountered this in a game? How would you get the winning advantage, the mate in 3? All right. Well, this is definitely dangerous, and you want to look for checks first when you're trying to figure these problems out, and in your own games, as checks are very forcing. So I'm thinking, pause the video if you need to think, as always, but if not, I'm thinking the knight can go here with a double discovered check on the king, forcing that king back into the corner, and then we can sacrifice our queen, backed up by the knight here, and the rook will have to capture, and then the knight can jump back to where it was here and deliver a smothered mate. So a very good pattern here. It's hard to set this up in a game, but I actually had a game where I was able to deliver one of these type of smothered mates. So, it's handy to know. All right, here we go. Check with the discovered double check, driving the king into the corner. Then you sacrifice the queen and put the knight back to where it delivers this smothered mate. All right, on to the next problem. We have a king that was under check by the rook. So what can we do here? All right. Well, we're looking for a mate in 3 with black to move, and you want to look for checks. So the most obvious thing is just checking here. All right. So if we do that, the opponent can block, and then do we capture? But then the queen could capture, our rook would recapture, and that looks like that would deliver the mate. So something you also want to do is, if you have time, double check and make sure that there's not some in-between move or something that you miss. So queen checks, the king cannot go anywhere. So, something to remember, when a king is in check, he has 3 options: capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run. And if he can't do that, it'll be a mate. So we check, he's forced to block, queen will capture, and now this queen is forced to take, and the rook will retake, delivering a mate here along with the help of this rook. All right, here we go. And see if you can figure that out in your head. Try and solve these puzzles all in your head, because in a game, or when you're solving your own puzzles, you can't just make a move and then take it back in a real game. So you don't want to do this. Excuse me. So back to what I was saying. Here, and mate. All right. The game continues with a pawn pushing forward. Okay, a very good pattern here. And this is something you definitely need to know. when you have this battery lined up, of course you can't go here because rook and king are both covering that. So you need to drive the king away from the defense of this square. So we'll do that with the queen check. And then how do you follow it up? For you beginners, you might need to pause and think about it. But more experienced players will know once the king goes into the corner, we sacrifice the queen, rook captures, and rook captures for mate here. All right, here we go. Check, sacrifice, and mate on the back rank. So always look out for back rank mate opportunities, when that king is kind of stuck back there. All right, knight has just captured. All right, we want to look for checks. Checks first. So, we have this. There's a check. Now the problem is, once we capture that, the king will go into the corner, and then we have 3 pieces lined up on this, and they have, 2 defenders. So, once the king goes into the corner, we can check. After they, capture. So, try to figure that out in your head. So, queen captures, king goes in the corner. Queen sacrifices here. The rook could capture. Rook captures, bishop captures, and then our final rook delivers the mate. So, here we go. And another back rank mate. So back rank mates are definitely valuable patterns to know. Solve many of those if you can. All right. Knight just jumped forward. Okay. Well, what do we have here? Look for those checks. All right. We have a rook check here, or a queen check here. So the queen check looks more promising, but is there a follow-up? And that's something to remember. If you have a check, don't just check because you can. Make sure there's a good follow-up. So if we check here, the rook is preventing the king or this knight from blocking, because then we can just capture and continue to check. Okay. There's a little trick to this, and you have to have another reason to do tactics regularly is to gain better board vision, so you see all the pieces on the board and use all of those. So if we check, the king could run into the center of the board or step over here, and then we have to be aware of this bishop, which would deliver a check here. All right, so here we go. Check, knight blocks, check, and the bishop with mate. All right, on to the next problem. The rook has centralized here. There's not possible to capture this queen because of the battery on the king. So, what are we going to do here? Looks like we're going to have to find a way to break through the position. So, look for those checks first. What would you do in this position? See if you can figure it out. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. Rook sacrifices. You'd want to capture this way. but then the other rook can attack. If the king tries to escape here, well, then our queen can deliver a mate here. So back to this again. If the rook captures, and we have a capture, if the other pawn captures, well, then the queen is going to mate up here because of this bishop covering these weak dark squares. So here we go. Capture, capture, and now here we go. The queen recaptures, delivering a mate with the help of this bishop. So that's something to be aware of whenever there's a fianchettoed position and there are weak dark squares around the king, and the bishop here is not guarding them. Well, then you might be able to take advantage, especially with this bishop aimed through here. All right, next problem. The queen captures here. And now it's our turn. So let's take a look at this. What would you do here? Look at the checks. Okay. Well, you might think, oh, should I sacrifice this? But then if the king captures and you try and bring the other rook over, the queen can pick you off there, so that won't work. So we need to try something different. Notice how this rook is unprotected, and that could be a weak point as your rook is lined up here. So we need to move the knight. So how would you do that? All right, we're going to move here with a check. If the knight is captured, well, then we just pick off the rook. Or if the king moves, and steps over to here, we pick off the rook as well. All right, here we go. And discover on this. And make sure you check all the moves. I overlooked the possibility of that queen blocking, but it still works out for us. Okay, here we go. We have a rook protecting this knight that our king was attacking. But it's our turn with the black pieces, and we're looking for a mate here. All right. Well, look for those checks. All right. Well, the rook is cutting off the king's escape here. And, we wouldn't want to just check with our rook here because the king could just capture. So, looks like a knight move is what we're trying to see if it works here. So knight could check here, or the knight could check here, but that would block the path of the rook. So first, let's look at this knight move. The pawn is cutting off this square, so the king can't go here because of the knight covering that. The king would be forced to move forward, and then that would allow the rook to check. The king would have to step here, and then the rook could deliver a mate. So see if you can figure that out in your head. Here we go. Check, rook check, and mate, because the knight is protecting this pawn and cutting this square off. All right, a good pattern there, using rook and knight together, but the pawn did have to assist here. All right, we have a capture, but it is our turn. What can we do next here? Okay. Look for those checks. All right. Looks like the checks will work. Let's make sure. Pause the video if you need more time, but I'm thinking queen checks. This bishop could block, and then we capture with a check here. The king would be forced to move here, and then our bishop could deliver the mate. So, here we... Oh, wait a minute. This queen is covering this diagonal, so let's double check. Check. Block. Capture with check. All right, we don't have to worry about this queen over here. All right, there we go. And we deliver the mate. All right, problem number 10. The king was under attack by the rook, drops back, and we have a pin by our queen on this bishop against the king. What can we do here? All right, we need to decoy the king onto this square. How can you do that? Pause the video if you need to think more. If not, here we go. The rook is going to attack the king, forcing the king to capture. Then our queen can deliver a check. If the king runs back to here, then our queen can deliver a mate here. Also, if the bishop blocks, we can still deliver a mate here on b2. So, a good pattern to know, using your rook to decoy the king onto a square and allowing us to mate. All right, I'll try and do 10 more problems quick here, so I'll try and do these a little bit faster. That way the video doesn't drag out too long. Okay, knight has just moved. We're looking for possibilities here. Look for those checks. All right, as always, pause if you need more time, but I'm thinking rook checks, king is forced to go here. The bishop can deliver a check. The king will be forced into the corner, and the knight can deliver a mate. So check, check, and mate. So quite an interesting pattern there, using rook, bishop, and knight all together. So on to the next problem. King was checked onto g8. All right, what are we going to do here? Well, hopefully you learned from the previous, from the earlier problem with the decoy. So see if you can figure it out. Oh, and maybe that won't work here. We have to have good board vision and watch out that there could be a block here. So, I was thinking, do we go here? The king captures. Then we go here with our queen delivering check and threatening to mate here. But there's a block by the bishop here, backed up by the queen. So we have to figure things out in a little different way here. So maybe bishop checks, king will be forced here. Then we can have a discovered attack by pushing the bishop here. If the king captures, well, then our queen can deliver mate here. The other option is once the bishop goes here and the king steps over, if we go here with our bishop with a discovered check and they block, well, now our queen would be able to deliver a mate up here. All right, so hopefully you can figure that out in your head. Here we go. Oh, wait, excuse me, that wasn't, that, I jumped the gun here. I was thinking about what we did earlier. I should have gone here and then here. Okay, so that is what I mentioned. I kind of got distracted by what I was thinking about earlier. All right, let's get through this. Knight jumps forward. How can we start attacking here? Well, we have a back rank mate attack here, but they could capture. If our rook comes up, they could capture. Our other rook delivers a check. The king can step here. But now what? Do we go here? And then he'll be forced to capture, and our queen can deliver a mate here. So a lot going on there. Take a look at that. Hopefully you figured it out. Let's pause if you need more time. But here we go. Capture, check, king steps up. We open things up, and now our queen can deliver a mate backed up by the rook. So that was a pretty good pattern. A little more complicated there. I hope you figured that one out. All right. Check on the king, blocked by the knight. Okay, what do we do here? Well, it looks like we're very behind in material, but it doesn't matter because we have a mate. All right. Pause if you need time to think. If not, here we go. We're going to move here, delivering a check. Our king is cutting off all these squares, so the king can't escape. And our opponent will have to block, and then we just capture that with our bishop. Then he'll have to block again, and we just capture that with our bishop, delivering the mate. Okay, here we go. Oh, and he decided to go that way instead, so still a mate. All right, problem number 15. The queen has dropped back to help defend the king here. All right. Well, make sure you look at the entire board. This bishop is cutting off any escape here. So if we can open up the H file, that might be to our advantage. Look for those checks first. So maybe knight, queen could capture, or pawn, but then we're going to attack with our rook on the H file. So queen will probably, capture. Then our queen could capture, opening the H file up anyway. The rook delivers mate here. So take a look at that. See if you can figure that out in your head. All right, here we go. Check. Then we knock out the queen and deliver a mate here. All right, 5 more to go. Let's get through these. The king is trapped. How can we take advantage of that? Well, when you have a stalemated king or almost stalemated king, see if you can use that to your advantage. So I think, well, pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. We're going to push this pawn, delivering a check. The king will be forced to capture. Then our rook can swing over, delivering a check, and the only thing that can be done is a block here, but then we just capture, delivering the mate. All right. And a lot of times pawn moves can be overlooked, and they can make all the difference here. So a good pattern there, pretty interesting. It's getting dark. Let me turn on a light. Hopefully that helps some. All right, let's do these final 4 problems. Knight jumps forward, attacking our queen. Okay. Well, what are we going to do here? Look for the checks. I mean, the obvious move is here, delivering a check backed up by the pawn. The king would have to go here. But then if we pulled our, put our queen up here, the king could escape here. So our queen could attack here. King would escape here. And then what? Huh. Maybe that doesn't work. And how many moves was that? That was 1, 2, 3. So let's take a look at it. Queen checks. King moves over. Queen checks again. King is forced to go here. We capture with check. The king is forced to go here. Oh, and then we can go here and deliver a mate. So this is a good pattern to know. So try and figure that out in your head if you can. Here we go. Check, check, check. And now we're able to deliver that final mate here because of this pattern that I've mentioned in previous videos before. Whenever you can check the king with the queen on one of the corner squares around the king, so here, 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 or here, then that covers all squares around the king except for 2 if the position is open. So here the queen is covering this, this, and this. As long as there aren't pieces blocking. Like if there was a piece here blocking the queen, then the king could run up to here. But the way it is now, queen is covering both sides and the diagonal through the center. Here and here are the only 2 squares the queen is not covering. The 2 central squares on the opposite sides of the queen, and it's covered by the pawn, and then the bishop is blocking its own king here. So a great pattern to know. I've used this pattern countless times in many chess games, so definitely take a look at that. All right, on to problem number 18. Okay, rook is what? Blocking our rook. Our opponent has 2 queens. We need to do something here. Okay. Well, look for the checks first. The bishop could capture, but the queen or knight could just recapture. Do we have anything else? Maybe a queen move. So pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. Maybe the queen delivering a check. If the knight were to block, well then our queen could capture. Rook could capture. Then our rook would capture, delivering check and mate because the bishop is covering that square. So once again, a lot going on. See if you can figure that out. Here we go. Check. Sacrifice the queen. Rook captures, then we capture, and the bishop is covering that escape, and we have a back rank mate. All right, back rank mates, definitely worth studying. Doing a lot of back rank mate problems because you'll have a lot of opportunities for back rank mates. All right, the final 2 problems. Rook is attacking our knight, but it's defended for the moment. Okay, how can we use these knights and our rook to get to this king here? This one could be a little tricky. So, some knight checks are definitely going to make a difference here. So pause the video and figure this one out. If you're ready, here we go. Maybe knight checking, forcing the king into the corner. Then, and also with the knight here, it covers that square, preventing the king from coming back. So now we can check, forcing the rook to capture. Our rook will be able to deliver a back rank check. The rook will have to block, and then we can just capture here, delivering the mate on f1. So, hopefully you can figure that out in your head. Here we go. The rook delivers the back rank check and mate. So, great little pattern there. That would be something that if you can study that, maybe it could be used in a game, in an endgame. All right, here we go. Bishop develops. All right. Well, look at these weak dark squares around this fianchettoed pawn position and this battery. So I think that's what we're going to use to take advantage of our opponent's weakened position. Try and figure that out. Pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. Well, we're going to deliver a check here. When a king is in check, what are the three options? Capture the attacker, which is not possible here. Block the attacker, which is not possible. Or capture the attacker. Or, excuse me. Capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run. That's the final option. So the king would have to run to here. And then that would allow a back rank mate. We sacrifice a rook. Well, not really a sacrifice. We just move the rook here with check. It's captured, and the other rook delivers a back rank mate. So here we go. Check. And then the back rank mate. So great pattern there. I've actually been able to use this pattern in games, or something similar, taking advantage of these weak squares and then using a bishop and rook together. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 20 chess tactics problems, which covered mate in 3 or more patterns. So just remember to study chess tactics regularly. Feel free to leave any comments, like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.